Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Diabetic 365. And today we have a very special guest, Katie, and she's here to share with us all the stories. She's been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 1999. So it's been almost 12 years she has been type 1 diabetic, and today she is here to share all her experiences from the past 12 years. Before getting started, I would like to remind you, please go through our diabetes recipe, diabetes exercise, and diabetes diabetes tip for today. So getting started, hey Katie, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So tell us your story. When were you first diagnosed, and what was it like? And tell us your story.
I was diagnosed when I was 12. My mom's friend had a daughter a couple years younger than I was who was also type 1, and so my mom recognized some of the symptoms very early. I never got very sick, thankfully. We went back to school shopping, and I was almost 12, and I was wearing clothes the size of a 7 or 8 year old, and so she noticed that I was just really, really skinny, and I would drink gallons of Kool-Aid every day, and but that's all the sicker I got, thankfully. And, because she had some friends that had gone through it, too.
Oh, okay. So, does anyone in your family already has any sort of type 1 or type 2 diabetes before?
My great-grandfather had type 2, and that's really all the family history we have of it.
That's it. Oh, okay. So you said you were 12 years when you were first, so you were in high school then when you were 12 years probably.
I was in elementary school, yeah. I was 6th grade. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you were 6th grade, okay. So how did you manage yourself when you were in school, with other kids or taking those insulin shots?
I didn't have to take insulin at school. I did have to, eat snacks in the middle of the day a few times, and had to eat everything my mom packed in my lunch, which is tough because in 6th grade it's the cool thing to go up to the lunch line and get an extra cookie or an extra thing of milk, and I just couldn't do that. Or to barter with your friends, hey, I've got a pudding cup, can I have your Snickers bar? And couldn't do that either. And a lot of my classmates got jealous because I got to eat in class and it wasn't supposed to be allowed. But on the first day back to school after I was diagnosed, my teacher let me get up in front of the class and talk about it, about the weekend I had because it was over Labor Day weekend, so I didn't even miss a day of school. So I got up and gave probably a 45-minute presentation to my class and then to the other 6th grade class, my other friends, about what diabetes is, how type 1 is different from type 2, and basically just all the stuff that I had gotten bombarded with in the hospital over the weekend. And I taught them what to look for, lows and highs, and if I was acting weird and what that might look like and who to call and what to do. And I did lose one friend because of the diabetes. It scared her, I guess. I think she was creeped out by the needles, and she was upset that I wasn't as much of a child as I used to be because I grew up pretty quickly. And that upset her a lot. She gave me a lot of grief for being too mature, and she was my best friend the year before, and it's a tough time for kids anyway, especially girls that are all figuring out who's cool and who's pretty and who's not, and so
I know there is an emotional element which is associated with diabetes, which is very tough. So as a kid, how did you take it?
I took the diagnosis pretty well, I think. I was pretty intellectually advanced, I guess, for my age, and I knew that there were many worse things that could have been, and I knew that learning everything I could about it would make me feel better, and so I did. I did a lot of research. My favorite books at the time, there was a diabetic character, the Babysitter's Club. Stacy is one of the babysitters, and she had type 1. So I wasn't, and then I knew our friend Abby, who was also my mom's friend's daughter. So I knew people who lived with it, and I knew that I was going to be at least okay. I mean, the losing friends part was really tough because it's always tough for a 12-year-old. But I think I did pretty well with the beginning stuff.
The beginning, that's very good. So, did you had any kind of rough weather when you're next to college or now when you're going to when you're doing your master's degree?
Yes, definitely had some rough times. My junior year of college, I think.
So, my question here is, I know you had tough times, but tell us how you overcame those.
Okay. Honestly, I'm not sure I have completely overcome them. But in college, I had a run-in with a professor who basically told me that I was too stupid to be there, and just a whole bunch of other stuff that really it shook me, because I had always thought of myself as a great student and an intelligent person. And so that little chink in my emotional armor made me just extremely depressed and anxious, and I stopped eating like I should, and I stopped watching my blood sugars. I would go 3 or 4 days without testing. I'd skip shots. I was a mess. I'd forget to take a bolus, or my A1Cs were running in the 12 area. My junior year, I think, my junior year, I was in DKA probably 12 to 15 times in that school year. Would have to go to the emergency room in my college town every week or so and get a bag of fluids and some insulin. But I guess overcoming it, I graduated and I got married, and I have a husband who supports me and tells me that I'm smart and I'm capable. And I think some of that affirmation has really made it easier for me to take care of myself. I'm not sure how to explain it. It's just that component between, I have an anxious, depressed personality to begin with, and then how that affects, emotion affects your diabetes control. So I think just taking care of my emotions, and my husband has been a big part of that.
So your husband played a big role in transforming you to a very, as a person you are today.
Yes.
So, so the question here is, when you feel low or high, you depend on your husband. But before getting married, is it kind of tough for a person with type 1 or type 2 diabetes, or diabetes for that matter, to find a life partner? So how difficult was it for you, and how easy was it, to communicate this with your partner?
It was pretty. Finding him was difficult, but none of my dating troubles were ever because of the diabetes, and it was always been easy for me to talk about it, just because I think when I was diagnosed, I learned so much about it, and I talked so much about it with my classmates and my teachers, and I think I got started real early, being able to be open about it. So, but yeah, I think it's always difficult to find your soulmate, diabetes or not, but talking about it is no problem, and he's been a quick study, so it was easy to open up this diabetes conversation, right? First or second date, like that. Yes. Yeah, because when I had to pull out my insulin pump to give myself a bolus at dinner, he asked to know why and know what the device is. So
okay, so coming to the next question is, from when did you start using this insulin pump?
I started pumping when I was 16, and I think I probably used it for about 3 or 4 years before the first time I was in DKA, my doctor decided that I wasn't doing a very good job with the pump, so he would take me off of it and see how I did with Lantus and Humalog pens and stuff, and it was much, much worse, but it took me a long time to get the pump back. I think I've been back on a pump for about 2 or 3 years now.
So what are some of the pros and cons you learned from that, using the insulin pump?
The definite pro is the basal rates, because that way you can't forget to take insulin. you might forget to take a bolus and you'll get a little bit high, but at least you've got something in your system at all times. And that definitely saved my life a few times. One of the cons, I guess, is that it's always there.
It's always sticking to your body.
Yeah, and it's I'm young. I like to wear relatively form-fitting clothing, and I would like to be able to wear a bikini on the beach, but it's just awkward when I've got I use a Dexcom also, so I've got 2 sets, somewhere around my midsection, and you get really strange suntans, and people look at you weird when you've got these things sticking out of your belly. So, but I would definitely say any pros outweigh any cons for sure.
That's very good. The next question here is when you feel very low or high. So how do you deal with highs and lows? Which is a major part in this, managing diabetes.
I have been telling you that I was away at graduate school for a week, and it was an incredibly stressful class for 3 weeks. But they were just really, really, really stressful for me, and stress drives blood sugar up. So I figured out how to set a temporary basal on my pump. And at one point during class, I was so stressed out that for 3 or 4 days running, I had to have my basal rate set at 175% of my usual rate. So, that's been one time recently when I've been really proud of the way I've handled highs, is that, you just keep guessing and checking, and, I knew that there was a reason for the highs, and so I knew that there should be something I could do about it, and that's very empowering. Lows, I always have lifesavers, and it's something I did when I was young, and I got away from it for a while just because lifesavers got gross after you have to eat them so many times. But now, we buy them in big bulk at Sam's, and they're in every purse, every school bag, a couple in my husband's car, a couple in my car. You can't very well open anything in our house and not find lifesavers.
That's very good. That's very good. So, does it sometimes lows and highs make you so mean, or when you're in a group or something, when you're with a friend, how do you deal with that?
When I get real high, I feel sick. So I get just like sleepy and groggy and whiny. And when I'm low, how did I get mean? But again, my husband might be the one to ask that. I think I just get scared, and so I'll. And it's funny too because I know how to deal with them. I know how to deal with my lows, and they shouldn't be that scary. But somehow there's just like a deep internal, like a shaky fear that you don't quite know what to do with, and so I think sometimes I shut down and just kind of curl in on myself, and I tend to be inward when I'm high or low.
Okay. So you do all this beautiful jewelry, which is I can see that in the video on back of you. So the question here is: so is this kind of art that you nurtured along the way?